The Book of Micah, one of the 12 minor prophets in the Old Testament, is a powerful call to justice, righteousness, and humility before God. Written by the prophet Micah during the 8th century BC, his book is packed with timeless lessons that resonate deeply, especially for those seeking strength and motivation in a world that often feels uncertain. Micah was a bold voice during a time of corruption and complacency, and his messages speak to the heart of what it means to be a man of courage, conviction, and action. Micah's background: a man from Moresheth. Micah, whose name means "who is like God," hailed from Moresheth, a small town southwest of Jerusalem. Unlike prophets who emerged from priestly or royal families, Micah was an ordinary man, a voice from the rural lands, who rose to challenge the moral failings of his time. His background represents the kind of strength found not in status but in character. This can be a valuable lesson, that true influence and greatness come from inner conviction rather than outward titles. Moresheth was a small, agrarian village, making Micah's perspective one grounded in the realities of rural life, where the impacts of injustice, corruption, and greed were felt most acutely. His prophetic voice became a defender of the poor and oppressed, a stark contrast to the urban elites in Jerusalem who perpetuated inequality. Micah's humble beginnings are significant because they show that God often chooses the most unlikely individuals to carry out his will. He was contemporary to great prophets such as Isaiah, Hosea, and Amos, and although his book is shorter, it doesn't lack depth or intensity. Micah was called by God to speak during a period of political turmoil, social injustice, and spiritual decline. His mission was to remind both the leaders and the people of Israel and Judah that their choices had consequences. He stood firm in the face of societal rot and gave voice to the voiceless, demanding justice for the poor and oppressed. His prophetic ministry extended across a critical time in Judah's history, seeing the destruction of the northern kingdom of Israel by Assyria and warning that Judah was on a similar path unless they repented. Strength through calling. Micah's masculine mission. One of the key masculine traits Micah demonstrates is a sense of purpose. A man with a clear mission is unshakable, and Micah's mission was crystal clear: to call out the sin and corruption around him, regardless of the personal cost. He fearlessly condemned the greed and hypocrisy of the leaders and priests of his time, men who exploited the vulnerable for personal gain. Micah's prophecies were not designed to make friends. They were designed to stir the conscience of a nation that had lost its way. His boldness in confronting powerful figures, political rulers, religious leaders, and wealthy landowners demonstrates a level of moral courage that few are willing to exhibit. Micah's strength wasn't in physical might or military power, but in his unyielding dedication to speaking the truth. In today's world, where compromise is often glorified and integrity is sometimes seen as negotiable, Micah's example is a stark reminder of the importance of staying true to one's principles, no matter the opposition. This is particularly relevant for men who seek to lead with authenticity and honor. His fearlessness is seen in Micah 3-8, where he says, "But as for me, I am filled with power, with the Spirit of the Lord, and with justice and might, to declare to Jacob his transgression, and to Israel his sin." Micah understood his strength came from God's Spirit, which made him unshakable in his mission. Micah's call for justice. A true leader speaks for the oppressed. In Micah 6-8, one of the most famous verses from his book, the prophet delivers a powerful summary of what God requires of men. "He has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." This verse is a profound call to personal and social responsibility, one that resonates through generations. It emphasizes that a man's worth is not measured by his power or wealth, but by his commitment to justice, mercy, and humility. This verse encapsulates 3 core qualities that every man should strive for: justice, mercy, and humility. Justice. Micah demanded justice in a world filled with corruption. For the men of today, This call remains vital. It means standing up for what is right, even when it's not popular or easy. It's about holding yourself and others accountable and fighting against systems that oppress the weak. In Micah's context, he was speaking directly to the rulers who were exploiting the people, and this principle of defending the downtrodden is just as relevant today in both personal and societal contexts. Mercy requires strength, not weakness. It's the ability to show compassion even when you have the power to retaliate. This balance of justice and mercy is key to being a man of integrity. Humility. Lastly, walking humbly with God speaks to the importance of knowing one's place before the Creator. Pride is often the downfall of men, but humility leads to wisdom, strength, and true leadership. Micah's call to humility was a rebuke to the arrogant leaders of his time who thought they were above judgment. The prophecies, bold predictions for a broken world. Micah's prophetic visions were stark and sometimes terrifying. He predicted the fall of both Samaria and Jerusalem, warning that their sins would bring about their destruction. But in the midst of these dire prophecies, Micah also foretold hope. He spoke of a future where a ruler from Bethlehem would come to bring peace and justice. This is seen as a reference to the coming of Jesus Christ, the ultimate embodiment of strength, sacrifice, and leadership. Micah 5:2 specifically mentions Bethlehem as the birthplace of this ruler, which is a remarkable prophecy that was later fulfilled in the New Testament. The duality of Micah's message, judgment for sin but hope for redemption, parallels the internal struggle many men face. There is the constant call to rise above temptation, to conquer the weaknesses that can lead to destruction, but also the hope and promise that through perseverance and faith, redemption is possible. Micah's prophecies remind us that no matter how far we fall, there is always a chance to rebuild, to rise again stronger than before. He didn't just speak about the coming Messiah. He also envisioned a time when swords would be beaten into plowshares and nations would not learn war anymore. Micah 4:3, pointing toward a future of peace under divine leadership. Micah's boldness in the face of corruption. Micah didn't shy away from confronting the powerful. His fearlessness in addressing the rulers of his day is a key aspect of his masculinity. He didn't use flattery or watered-down words to appeal to their egos. Instead, he told them outright that their greed, dishonesty, and neglect of the poor would lead to their downfall. In Micah 3:11, he says, "Her leaders judge for a bribe, her priests teach for a price, and her prophets tell fortunes for money. Yet they look for the Lord's support and say, 'Is not the Lord among us?' No disaster will come upon us." These were dangerous words, but Micah didn't waver. He didn't seek approval or personal gain. He sought only to fulfill his divine mission. In our time, where many are tempted to compromise for the sake of success or comfort, Micah's fearless pursuit of truth is a powerful example of masculine strength and leadership. The legacy of Micah, a role model for men today. Though the book of Micah is brief, its impact is far-reaching. Micah teaches us that masculinity is not about dominance or control, but about justice, compassion, and humility. These traits make a man truly great, not just in the eyes of society, but in the eyes of God. Micah's call to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God remains as relevant today as it was in ancient Israel. For men who seek to lead their families, communities, or even nations, Micah's life offers a roadmap to doing so with integrity, courage, and conviction. His story challenges us to stand up for what is right, even when it's hard, to show mercy to others, even when we have the power to crush them, and to walk humbly, knowing that true strength comes from God, not from the approval of men. Thanks for watching. If Micah's story of courage, justice, and humility resonates with you, be sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned for more inspiration that challenges you to become the best version of yourself. See you in the next video.